Hello, and welcome to Google Partners Connect, broadcasting from the Googleplex here in Mountain View, California. We're thrilled to have you here with us today. My name is Teray, and I'm part of the Partners Marketing team here at Google. Today we have an amazing lineup of speakers here for you. They're here to talk about growing your home services business online and how AdWords can help you find new leads. We'll also take a closer look at some of the tips and strategies that you can put into practice with your Google partner to make the most of your advertising budget. But before we get started, here are two things to remember. First, the Google partners in the room can help answer your questions both during and after the broadcast. These folks have all been certified by Google to help you grow your home services business online and are true experts in the field. Second, we'd love to hear your questions and event feedback on Twitter. Just remember to use hashtag PartnersConnect to join the conversation. Now, it's my pleasure to turn things over to our first speaker, Ben Tyson. Ben is a veteran in the home services space and a program lead for Partners Events. Today, he'll share some of his thoughts on how the home services industry is evolving and how you can leverage digital advertising to reach the right customers at the right moment. Ben?
Thank you so much, Torrey. I'm thrilled and honored to be here to discuss some of the consumer behavior changes that we've seen in marketing over the last couple of years, as well as how that pertains to the home services industry. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started and take a look at what some of these consumer behavior changes are. First and foremost, control and convenience and access to information 24/7. That's no secret, but this is how mobile is changing the game. We have a lot more options and we're much better informed and aware of the types of businesses we can and should engage with. We have the ability to consider more options in a shorter amount of time, but we really have the highest of expectations, and extraordinary when we talk about mobile is the new ordinary. It's unparalleled times in marketing with these key factors that we need to consider, and it's becoming very difficult for small to medium-sized businesses to navigate the convoluted digital ecosystem. So let's take a look at some industries where the models have been challenged. First and foremost, taxi service, right? Versus ride sharing. This is an industry change so significant that it's completely really revitalized our traveling experience through town, as well as when we travel to other regions to utilize a ride sharing service. When we think about more industries, how about the hotel industry with the ability to leverage like Airbnb, where this experience is completely transcended and is so much easier than walking into a hotel, having to check in and then go to your room. You just have access to a house, a space, a room. It's much better. And the one that I think is really unique, because this has been extremely difficult to see a shift in the traditional models, is the healthcare industry. Specifically, look at diabetes. We don't have to prick our fingers and we don't need to wear monitors on our waist to see what our insulin levels are and if we should take a shot. Now we have Google Lens, which is simply a contact lens that you put into your eye, and it pings you a notification if you need to take an insulin shot. So these business mental models, as well as just traditional business models, are changing from where they were, and now is a crunch time for the home services industry, and here's why. Because the consumer's model has changed. We now consult 22.4 sources of information prior to a home service purchase. Now, if we rewind the clock, these numbers have significantly increased. Two years ago, it was 16.2. 4 years ago, it was 10.7. And 6 years ago, we were at 4.2. So this number continuously increases and creates a challenge for us to win our customer and move them from lead to customer, lead to paying customer, lead to referring customer, lead to repeat customer. This challenge is what we're seeing as the focal point of the marketing efforts and the shift in the mental model of consumers, which is making us have to shift as businesses. But we understand that we need to do one thing and do it well. We need to reach customers, the right customer in the right moment. When we talk about reaching customers in the right moments, what are those moments? Because there's multiple moments that take place throughout the day, and some are valid and some are not valid, right? The truth is that some moments actually matter more than others. I could be texting someone, which is irrelevant to you as a home service business. I could be taking a picture of my food and posting it to social media. also irrelevant to you as a home services business. But once I step into that particular moment and I become the right customer and it becomes the right moment, that's when I need to maximize my marketing dollars to ensure I'm reaching customers in that state of mind. The challenge is that only 2% of home service businesses are set up to identify and deliver on and measure the moments that actually matter. 98% are not. This is astonishing and extremely alarming for us because this tells us that we truly don't understand the ecosystem. Another statistic that I can gauge to look at is just by seeing media consumption. You see, about 56% of our media consumption time today is spent on digital. Yet when we look at the home services space, it's only 25% of our overall advertising investment is done through digital. This tells us that although the consumer's mental model and their behavior is shifting, ours as advertisers in the home service business and industry are not. And this is why we only see 2% of individuals in the home service space set up for success with today's marketing realm. Now, why? What do we need to do? We have to anticipate the changes. The consumer behavior change can be pointed to one particular factor, and that is millennials and the head of households when we look at home services. See, in 2013, only 13.3 million households were headed by millennials. But now as we move forward today, millennials have surpassed Generation X as the number one head of household. By 2018, we'll see that number rise to 21.6 million households will be headed by millennials. This is tremendous growth. And we probably should have been able to anticipate that there would be some overlap of the generation in regards to head of households. But this has significantly shifted how consumers are purchasing products and services in the home service industry. And now, as we move forward, Fred will later discuss some pinpoints that you should consider in your marketing dollars that are going to allow you to have success with today's consumers. But furthermore, right? How is the consumers altered in their path to purchase? It really comes down to three things: immediacy of action, higher expectations, and unscripted decisions. Now I want to dive into each of these just a little bit. Immediacy of action, right? We're now acting on any stimulus whenever we're motivated to do so. Now, stimulus probably isn't an old marketing term, or it probably is an old marketing term that you've heard of in the past if you're successful in the marketing age or if you've owned your business for an extended period of time. We've been told for decades, right? Create stimulus about your brand, about your products, so that when someone needs your service, then they'll remember, it'll be a brand recall to contact you for that plumbing need, that AC repair, that kitchen remodeling. Now, I'll agree that creating stimulus is still important with offline means. For example, television, radio, newspaper. But what I think is more important to today's consumer is we're acting on stimulus in real life moments and real life events. Take me, for example. A couple weeks ago, I actually came downstairs to find our back shower backed up, and the whole downstairs bathroom, as well as in the hallway, was completely flooded with water. I'm talking close to about 4 to 5 inches. So obviously I freaked out, right? The first thing I knew I needed to do, I needed to call a plumber. Second of all, I needed to call maybe someone in the water restoration. I immediately acted on this particular stimulus and contacted businesses that could provide me a service. Higher expectations. For example, your mobile website, right? Is it relevant and is it a frictionless experience? Remember, extraordinary is now just ordinary. So just simply having a mobile site is not sufficient enough way to engage with individuals that are in line for or looking for your product or service on their mobile device. We need to have a great experience. In fact, consumers really expect your website to load within 3 seconds from their mobile device. And 67% of consumers won't even visit a site, or leave a site, I should say, if it is not mobilely optimized. So frictionless experience is very, very crucial with today's buyer. And most importantly are these unscripted decisions that customers are making. We're now today more loyal to the need in that particular moment than we are to that particular brand. And I know it can be frustrating, but really we have to do a better job of understanding the need of someone in a particular moment versus what they think about our brand. Now, this is a challenge that is taking place all over North America when we look at the home services industry. I've had the privilege to travel all around North America, meet tons of businesses, but a lot of businesses from the home service space, and all of them tell me that they're seeing a decline in their repeat and referral business. This is something that has taken place because the unscripted decisions that we're making. What are the themes, right? Well, what are we actually doing is we're searching for home service industry kind of companies. And what we found is that this growth in online search queries continues to grow across all home service categories. And furthermore, what's driving that growth is mobile search. That growth continues to grow at double-digit rates, which is just unprecedented for a lot of other industries. In fact, in Q3 of 2015, we saw mobile search surpass desktop search for home service queries. So this is both good news as well as bad news. The good news is that individuals are continuously leveraging search engines to find businesses just like yours. So there's an opportunity that exists there. The bad news is if we continue to do nothing, we're likely not even going to be able to engage with these customers. Because remember this, is that 72% of consumers expect leading brands to be on top of a search engine. And furthermore, over a third of individuals associate your placement on search engines with how prominent of a company you are. I know it's not totally fair, but that's the mental model of today's consumer. So this is important because I think if we see that there's been growth in queries online, we need to understand what are the growth in those queries, and do we have access to understand the interest over different periods of times? And the answer is yes, right? This is just a trend report from Google Trend, and every partner that you're sitting next to has access to pull these reports to give marketing insights of how and when we should be marketing our particular business. This is measuring the interest in home improvement versus home remodeling from 2012 all the way through to 2016, 2017. And what we see is a steady increase as well as ebbs and flows of these particular search interests over a period of time. But when we look at what's driving that growth, remember I said it's mobile. It's growing at double-digit rates year over year. One of the key factors in how we search on our mobile device is looking at near me. So what we did is we run a couple of trend reports based on near me searches. And what we found is pretty astonishing. Kitchen remodeling near me. If you notice in 2012, 2013, really non-existent interest in regards to someone typing in kitchen remodeling near me. But as we move towards today's date, you can see a tremendous spike in individuals actually typing in kitchen remodeling near me. Really unique interest, which creates really unique opportunity for you as a home service business. Furthermore, plumber near me, same story. Growth in that, and then lastly, AC repair near me, and you see the same trajectory and the same growth based on near me searches across all home service based businesses. Now, truth number 2, intent trumps identity and immediacy trumps loyalty. So what do I mean by this? Okay, well, intent, right? For years we've been told that we truly need to understand the identity of our customer base. Who are they? Male, female, how old are they? What's their income? Where do they live? All of these things we were told are crucial aspects to understand how to market your business. I agree to an extent that those are still important, but they're becoming less and less relevant because we now have the ability to understand the intent that a consumer has based on their context, the time of day, the device they're on, as well as their physical location. All key factors to understand intent that is driving this really identity craze and this identity need further and further away from what's relevant and important to market your business today digitally. Secondarily, I mentioned immediacy trumps loyalty. We talked a little bit about this based on unscripted decisions, but remember that story I was telling you about how I walked downstairs and my whole downstairs area was flooded? Well, I did a search on Google, saw a brand I recognized, and called that brand immediately for service to come out. Unfortunately, they told me that they wouldn't be able to be there for about 24 hours, the next day in the afternoon. This was pretty unacceptable, although I did book that appointment just in case. Immediately did another search, found another plumber I'd never heard of that told me that they could be there within 1 hour. I booked that, called the other plumbing service back, and canceled. So my loyalty and brand recognition to that really well-established plumbing brand in my community was absolutely irrelevant based on the immediacy I had. And I know this is totally unfair, right? And potentially unrealistic, but remember I said our expectations are high. I understand that you could be booked for days, weeks, and months even if you're in the home remodeling business, but the fact of the matter is, regardless of how significant or how loyal you think people are to your brand, the immediacy, when that stimulus kicks in, is more important to them and they're going to go somewhere else. Here's some interesting aspects of how we're leveraging our mobile devices when looking for home improvement and remodeling. 61% of us use search engines, while 66% went to a website. 66% wanted to seek a word-of-mouth recommendation, but what I think is important on this particular slide is that 15% use rating and reviews website. That's it, only 15%. The last 2 to 3 years of marketing digitally has been all about reviews. You got to get your reviews stronger. You got to get your reviews stronger. But as we see consumer behavior shifting and changing, this is somewhat irrelevant. And I think I know why. It's because mobile devices drive really quick action. In fact, out of individuals who did a search and called a business, 56% called that business within 1 hour. 54% visited a physical location in 1 hour, and 52% actually made a purchase within 1 hour. So mobile search is driving quick interaction, taking that lead from a lead to a paying customer at an unprecedented rate, and is a really great opportunity for you to engage for your home services business. Now, we talk about who is searching for help. What I find astonishing is that only 1.2 is the average number of businesses that are considered for a transaction in 2015. Now, we're still waiting on 2016 data, and I expect this number to maybe decline a little bit based on recent trends, because 2 years ago, it was over 2, 4 years ago, it was over 6, 8 years ago, it was over 10 businesses considered. So why is this happening? It's simple. The access to information that we have and how informed of a buyer we are, we can find all of this out online. We no longer need to get 10 contractors, 10 plumbers, 10 AC repair individuals to come to my house and give me a bid for a project. I already likely know how much it's going to cost or how much it should cost, and really can narrow my search down based on the information I have at my disposal. Also, what we found is that the average customer spent just under $1,500 in 2015. The good news is that increased by just over $200 in the last year, and hopefully we see a continued increase as we get 2016 as well as 2017 data. So here's the challenge, is that we're all falling short. I mentioned earlier in this presentation that 98% of us were not set up to identify, deliver on, and measure the moments that actually matter in our business. But when I say we're all falling short, here's what I want to tell you, is that it is not your fault. The ecosystem is so complex, and we're probably asking this question almost every day. How in the heck do I manage this effectively at scale without wanting to put my head through a wall, right? There's so many different pillars. You probably get 20, 30 different phone calls every single week, if not hundreds, with people trying to get you to invest in some sort of advertising avenue. It could be online, could be offline. But there's so many different aspects that we have to consider when we're actually marketing our business. And furthermore, for the first time, we're seeing this ecosystem really work together in unison, which makes it even more important. So you might be asking, how in the heck do I manage this effectively at scale, Ben? Please give me some advice, give me some insight. Well, the good news is that you really don't have to overthink it. You don't. Look to your left or right and find that Google partner that you're sitting next to. They've been Google certified and are extremely educated in the space and been trained by a lot of Google employees. If you think about the true value of a partner and why you're not certainly successful at marketing your business today, it really comes down to four things, unfortunately, that are really tough to get. And those are time, knowledge, desire, and resources. Time. We would advise you to manage an effective AdWords campaign that you invest at least 20 hours a week on that. Knowledge. Do you understand each part of the ecosystem and how each pillar works together? Desire. Do you really want to do this, or would you rather just outsource those efforts? Do you have the desire to invest the time to get that knowledge and invest the time later? And for me, the biggie is resources. When I talk about resources, I'm really discussing money, right? In our opinion, you should probably have 5 different experts to be able to compete in this digital marketing era. And the reason I say 5 is because there's really 5 pillars towards digital marketing, and they all kind of work together. First and foremost, your website, right? Second of all, SEO and search engine marketing with AdWords. Third would be social or Web 2.0, which display and video remarketing certainly fall under. And then lastly is mobile. So 5 key pillars of digital marketing. Well, if we were to look at the average salary for a true expert in this space, it's about $50,000 per year. So what we'd have to do, unfortunately, is probably spend $250,000 a year on internal resources before we even put 1 cent towards marketing. Now look, I know that it's my right to represent myself in the court of law, but there's not an attorney on the face of the earth that would look at me and say, hey, Ben, that's a great idea. If you think about why I'd fail in this aspect is because I don't have the time, I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the desire or the resources, right? Well, maybe I have the desire, but the other 3, I'm without. You gotta have all 4. What I think is fascinating to consider is think about your business. In all likelihood, for 99% of individuals in the home service business, we wouldn't even be in business if our customers had time, knowledge, and desire and resources to do what we do. Think about it. I could do my own plumbing, I could do my own remodeling, I could do my own electrical work, AC work, but would you ever suggest someone to do their own plumbing, do their own wiring for an electrician? Absolutely not, because it does take the time, knowledge, and desire and resources to do that. And that's what your partners are here to do. With that, I want to say thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to Torrey here, but you're in for a real treat to hear 5 points of emphasis of how you could win today's consumers from Fred when he comes on. Torrey, thank you.
Thank you, Ben, for sharing the importance of shifting your mindset and the role that digital plays in helping you find your next customer. I'd like to take a moment to highlight one thing you mentioned about our partners. Sure, they've earned our badge, but what exactly does that mean? Well, it means that they follow Google's advertising best practices. They're AdWords certified, they manage a significant AdWords investment, and they've proven their ability to help businesses like yours succeed online time and time again. We truly believe that our partners are qualified to help you with your advertising, which is why we've awarded them the Partners Badge. With that said, I'd like to introduce our next presenter, Fred Valles. Fred is a former Googler and now the CEO of his own company, Optimizer, which helps businesses automate their online pay-per-click accounts. He's joining us today to offer some tips on how you can grow your business online by using Google services. He'll also share some strategies that you can implement with your partners right away. Fred, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Torrey. It's very good to be back here, and thank you everyone for attending the session today. So I got my start in online advertising back in 2002, actually a little bit before that. In 2002, I joined Google, and I was actually advertising my own small business. It was a photography business at the time. So it's been almost 2 decades that I've been doing this, and really excited to be here today to share some of the things that I've learned over those 2 decades and hopefully make it count and help you improve your online marketing performance. So the reason that I think all of you attended this session today is because you want to be found on Google. You know that that's important, but how important is that? Well, let's put a number behind it. There's 2 trillion searches happening on Google every single year. Now 2 trillion, that's too many zeros for me to count, so let's put that in perspective of something that's a bit easier to understand. 63,000 searches happen on Google every single second. Now, obviously, not all of these searches are for the products and the services that you sell, but some of these will actually be very relevant. And if you can capture that demand that the consumers have for your services, that is a great spot to be in. Now, being found on Google, that used to be a very simple thing. It used to mean when somebody goes to their computer, sits down at their desk, and they do a search, we got to be found. Nowadays, there's much more to it than that. People do a lot of searches on smartphones. They still do them on desktop and laptop computers. And now you even have stuff like the Google Assistant. So Google Home, you can actually ask it a question. I have one of these in my kitchen. And before I head out to a store, I will generally ask it if the store is still open. But if I'm standing there in my kitchen and I have a question about a plumbing leak, well, I can just say, how late is the plumbing store open today? And so the Google Voice will actually respond and tell me how late things are open. So there's this whole gamut of places that you need to be found on, and that's all connected through Google. So let me tell you 5 tactics that we can take to get you found in these places and to grow your business by being there when the consumer needs you. So tactic number 1 that I want to share is own your Google My Business listing. I want to start off with this one because it's free and it's relatively simple to do, and it's going to have a big impact. Google My Business is the way for your business to communicate to Google exactly where you're located, your hours of operation, the types of services that you provide, the area that you service. Now, some of you may be familiar with Google My Business, and you may think it's really geared for people who have a store. And some of you in the room probably have a showroom, so even if it's mostly a service business, you might still have people come into the showroom to select a tile for their new kitchen, to take a look at new faucets, to take a look at paint colors, for example. But even if you don't have a location where you want people to come to, you can still communicate to Google My Business what your service area is. So to which locations you will actually go to people's homes to provide the service that it is that you sell. And so the way that you get your Google My Business listing is you simply do a search for your own business. Google has a lot of information. Chances are they already know your business exists. And at that point, the only thing you need to do is click on a link that says, hey Google, this is my business, I want to claim it. They will do a quick verification, usually through a phone call, to make sure that you're actually the owner of that business. And once you take control, now you can edit locations, hours of operation, services, products, and all of these things that will really help consumers find you for the exact thing that they're looking for. So I recommend after the session today, you definitely claim your Google My Business listing. Now, the other reason that the Google My Business listing is so important is that consumers, when they're looking for a home services provider, making sure they're working with someone reliable and trustworthy, that's really, really important. Think about yourself. So if you're looking for a service that you don't provide, but you need someone else to come into your house, that's kind of a big thing, right? People coming into your house, you want to make sure you can trust them. So consumers predominantly will look at online reviews to make a decision about who it is they want to invite to bid on a certain project. In fact, 82% of online searchers say that reviews are really, really important to them. So these reviews obviously get left on a number of platforms. Google's not the only game in town when it comes to this one. But people are still leaving reviews on Google, and what you as a business need to do is make sure you look at those reviews and you respond to them. Now, nobody's going to have 100% 5-star reviews. Nobody's perfect. And in fact, when you see someone with only 5-star reviews, that's usually a little bit sketchy in my opinion, right? I want to see those reviews where people actually had something they maybe weren't happy about. Maybe they thought the price was too expensive. Okay, well, me as a consumer, I don't really consider that a negative review, but I'm still going to read it. And then I'm going to think, oh, well, if they thought the price was too expensive, they should have just found a different provider. That's not a reason for a bad review. But what the consumer is also going to be looking at is how did you respond to a review that wasn't perfect, or even a review that was a 5-star review? Do you as the business actually take the time to go and respond to those, especially those less than positive reviews? How did you respond to it? Did you actually try to make it right? Again, knowing that not everybody's going to be perfect 100% of the time, it tells the consumer a tremendous amount about how you run your business in looking at how you respond to reviews on the internet. Once you own the Google My Business listing, you will have access to respond to the reviews that people have left for your business. So definitely go and take advantage of that. Now, the last thing that you get with Google My Business that I think is really, really important is insights about what consumers are looking for, where they're coming from, what areas they're coming from. So for example, if somebody's going to come to your showroom, Google will actually show you a heat map that says these are the locations from which people have asked for directions to come to your showroom. That could be great information as far as telling you what part of the city do I need to open up a second location in? So if you've been thinking about expanding, this actually tells you where the majority of your customers are located. It also tells you about how many phone calls are generated. So it tells you all these great stats. It doesn't cost anything to get this, and it helps you understand your business better, and it helps you understand your consumers better, and then you can take action on that to grow your business. So that comes for free from all of these people who pull out their smartphones to really engage with a listing that they find online. So now that you got your Google My Business listing, the free thing, let's talk about how you grow more traffic. And so that's all about reaching people at the right moment. And Google AdWords is really revolutionary. So when it started, when I joined it in 2002, it was all about the moment of relevance. And the moment of relevance is simply a whole transformation of how advertising works. So if you've done TV advertising or newspaper advertising, you're basically blasting your message to a lot of people, hoping that some of them actually need what it is that you sell. Now, the moment of relevance means that this person here, a pipe just burst in their house. Well, what are they going to do? They're going to pull out their phone and they're going to look for a plumber to come and fix it. Do they happen to know the number of a plumber off the top of their head? Probably not, right? So what do? They go on Google, they do a search. I have a leak, I need a plumber. Boom, a couple of options show up and they can call one from right there and instantly get someone to come to their house to help them at that moment of specific need. Now, the opportunity for you obviously is in the fact that you're only showing ads to people who've expressed the need for the service that you sell and that you provide. So at that moment of relevance, we're connecting you to a very, very highly qualified lead where you might actually get a sale from it. So that's how Google AdWords works. And then by the way, on Google AdWords, you only pay for a click. So you don't pay to show ads, but you pay when somebody decides to click on the ad or to call your ad. So it's very effective from that perspective. Now, the moment of relevance that I've just presented to you was, okay, a pipe just burst in my house. But there's actually all these different moments of relevance that the consumer goes through, and they do small pieces of research as they're thinking about stuff. Now, it used to be a couple of years ago, if I was thinking about remodeling my house or my kitchen, I would probably take a Saturday afternoon to sit at my desk and do a bunch of research. Well, that is not how it works anymore. People nowadays, because they have the whole internet on a smartphone in their pocket, as they're standing in line at the grocery store, they might be thinking, oh, wait, I wanted to do something to my house. Let me look up some options. Okay, so it's a what to remodel type moment. And then as they get ideas about what it is they might want to change, maybe they want to do painting, maybe they want to put in artificial grass, they will do a search for, can I afford it moments? Okay, can I actually afford that sort of a project? And then as they go through the funnel, they'll have moments like, I was thinking about doing this myself, but actually it looks kind of hard, so maybe I need help. Who are the providers that can do this for me? And then once I've identified a provider, is this somebody that I can trust? So they'll do some research around your reviews, for example. And then finally, after that project is done and they absolutely love it, they want to share it, right? People do a lot of sharing online today, and that could be through social media, but it could also be through comments they leave in places. And so these are moments where people will then go and kind of show off a little bit about what it is they just did to improve their house because they're really proud about the project. Now, for you as a business, this means you have to be present at each of these micro moments when the consumer is considering doing a project. And so let's get a little bit more specific about this now. The best way to take action on this is to think about the types of keywords that a consumer might search. And you and your agency can work on putting together these keyword lists. Now, you're going to have high conversion rates if you buy keywords that are very far down in the funnel, right? So if somebody's really ready to make a decision on new kitchen cabinets, the conversion rate is going to be high. But do consider you have to be present at those early stages too, so that people see your name, see your brand, because the more often they see your name and your website, the more they will trust you by the time they're actually ready to make a purchase. And if they're not considering you from the beginning, you could actually lose out on that business. So here as a simple example, if somebody says, how should I remodel? They might be doing searches for like remodeling ideas, kitchen design ideas. So they don't know specifically what they want, but they're kind of generically looking for that. Now they come to a decision and they say, yeah, I want to do a kitchen remodel. I think my cabinets look kind of janky, so let me put in some new cabinets. Okay, so now it's a can I afford it moment. Should I be painting them? Should I reface them? Should I put in entirely new cabinets? Could I even do something like completely custom cabinets? Okay, so now they do these searches, and then as they figure out, okay, this is sort of in the price range of what I can afford, now they go on to that next stage of the micro moment, which is who can I trust to actually help me with this project? And here they're really looking for a service provider who's very reliable, who's got good reviews, who's got a nice website, looks very trustworthy. So at that point, they might be looking for something like kitchen cabinet resurfacing companies, something very specific. So the point for you is make sure that at every stage of the consumer decision process, you're present with the right set of keywords, and your agencies can certainly help you figure those out. Now, picking keywords is a bit of a tricky game sometimes because what people search for actually changes over time. Sometimes there's seasonality, but there's also completely new trends that are coming in. So here I went to Google Trends and I looked up when people search for Wi-Fi thermostats. So these are probably like smart home connected thermostats. And I was really thinking this is probably something people start to look for when they're thinking about the weather getting pretty hot. Right now it being May, people are probably thinking about air conditioning, so they might want to control that from their smartphone. Well, it turns out that my gut feeling was wrong. And this is why tools are amazing, because Google actually will give you the data. And right here you can see for the past 5 years, searches for Wi-Fi thermostats tend to happen most frequently during the holiday season and early January. So what that tells me is it's probably a great holiday gift that people are looking to give someone in their family. So now knowing this, you can sort of prepare yourselves for being present for those types of keywords, having the right budgets for those keywords as those seasonal searches are likely to happen. Now, one of the standout queries is Alexa, Amazon Alexa. So this is a smart home controller device, and a lot of people are probably started to ask for this. So if they're looking at HVAC work or automatic blinds, they probably want to make sure it works with some of the home automation technologies. And so here you can see Amazon Alexa was basically a non-search for the last couple of years, but then recently, starting in 2016, it has really spiked. Especially when it was introduced, it spiked, but it's still a significant volume of searches happening today. So you, as a service provider, by knowing what the consumer is looking for, you can actually play on that. You could even take this information, if you still want to do newspaper advertising, well, boom, figure out what people want to find, mention that in the ad because it's going to make you stand out as more relevant, more on top of your game than your competitors who are just running the same stale old advertising that's not playing on consumer trends. So here's another good example from this. Again, Google Trends, you can put in your own keywords, you can figure this out yourself, you can even do it at the regional level. But what I wanted to see was, if I was a painting business, what kind of paints are consumers looking for? So there's low VOC, that's like low volatile organic compounds, so that's like the healthy paint. Is that more important than magnetic paint or whiteboard paint? Each of these is color coded. So in blue you see low VOC, in red you see magnetic, and in yellow you see whiteboard. So it turns out that almost nobody searched for whiteboard paint a couple of years ago, but now that's actually a thing. Whereas magnetic paint, that's been a thing for a couple of years. And you can sort of see how that's trending up and down. Low VOC paint, on the other hand, yeah, while it seems important and something that people should care about, is actually not a very frequent search. So again, now you have the information so that you can try to make a connection with that consumer as they're looking for a painting company. You could say, hey, we do some of the more modern things that people are looking for, which is like, we can paint you a whiteboard in your house. We can make your whole kitchen a whiteboard if that's what you wanted, right? So you can play on those trends and really capture that market. Now, does that actually matter in your region? So the trends I've shown you to this point, they're all national. Let me show you what you can do at the regional level. So here we're looking for air conditioning, ductless air conditioning. I live in an Eichler house. You don't really have ducts in Eichler houses, so I need ductless air conditioning. If that's something you're considering selling for your HVAC business, well, here you see color-coded. The more blue a state is, the more likely it is people are searching for that type of air conditioning system. So there you can see that in California, it's a pretty reasonable search. You might actually want to advertise for this. Whereas in some other states in the country, it doesn't really even register that much, so maybe not something to focus on. So this is a tool you can play with. Definitely recommend you take advantage of that. Now, I've talked about keywords quite a bit, but there are some other options. Ultimately, we're still looking to make connections to people. The keyword is a means to achieve that, but there's means to directly connect with specific consumers as well. So you got three options here. First one is to take your existing customer list, take the email addresses that you've collected from your customers as you've done business with them, or as you signed up leads, maybe at an arts and wine festival. And so take those email addresses, provide them to Google. Google can actually map that to users doing searches on Google. So as those people do more frequent searches through a customer match, Google can actually increase the bids for the people who've already heard about you. So it can really help you close the deal on that one. You can also do remarketing. So if you've paid the money, whether it's through advertising or through some other means to get people to your site, but you've paid money to get someone to come to your site, don't lose them after they leave. Give them a cookie. Cookie them as they come to your site, and now as they do other things on the internet, for example, looking at sports scores or reading the news, you can still show your ads. And you can do things like show them a special offer, which once again is trying to close the deal with someone you know was already in the market for what it is that you provide. And then finally, there's demographic targeting as well. So if you know that people of a certain age range are not likely to re-roof, then you can exclude them. If you know that most of the decisions in your space are made by either males or females, you can bid more for the right group. Okay, so you can do all of these things to either bid more or exclude and really get your message in front of the right people. Now, once again, you pay for each click, so the better you target those clicks to the people that are actually likely to become customers, the better your business will be. So let's talk about that specifically a little bit more. How do you make this a profitable proposition? And there's kind of this thing, right? So a lot of people look at online marketing as a cost of doing business. It's kind of like a gone cost. But in a way, think about online marketing as your best salesperson. Every single click that happens, it's tracked. You know how much it cost. You can actually know what happened to that click after it came to your website, after they called your business. You can know if that turned into a customer. And so now what you can start doing is, if you have the right mechanisms in place with your agencies, you can know exactly how much you spent, how much you made, and make sure that that is a profitable proposition. So let me give you a couple of specific ideas. First of all, budgets. You may have an annual budget laid out for online marketing. It's really helpful to know when people are going to be searching for what it is that you sell. So here we have a search for air conditioning installation. Not surprisingly, people look for this as the temperatures get hotter. But here you see for the year 2016 in the United States, in the home and garden vertical, this is the frequency of the search. So you can see it sort of picks up in May and then it starts declining. And by about late August, people really don't search for air conditioning anymore. So allocate your budget to that part of the year, May through August, when people actually want to install this. The other thing you can do is you can look at when people are searching. Now there's interesting behaviors, and this is actually specific to the home services vertical, but people, the usage peaks on smartphones in the afternoons and then on computers and tablets towards the evenings. You can actually take advantage of this. So you can set different bid adjustments for different devices throughout different times of the day. I was just speaking with one of my customers, Frank, from Local Visibility, and he said he'd actually done this 20% improvement in cost per acquisition just by looking at when to bid more for specific times of the day and specific devices. Right? So this is not just generic advice. This is actually the stuff that gets you dramatic improvements in what you're going to pay to acquire a new customer. You can even do really advanced things like bidding more when you know your ads are running in other media. So if you're going to be pushing a coupon into the local mailers, well, you can have a spreadsheet that you maintain of the dates when those mailers will drop, and you can automatically have a script increase your bids on those days. And guess what happens? I mean, somebody gets a mailer in the mail, they open it up and they're like, oh yeah, actually, I am kind of interested in installing an outdoor barbecue, like an outdoor kitchen type thing. So what's the next thing most consumers do? Well, they go ahead online and they research it. Now, if your competitors are showing up ahead of you, that's a wasted opportunity. You generated the interest. You got to be there to capture it when consumers pull out their smartphone and go and look what it is that you can do for them. And then this is probably one of the coolest examples that I've heard in this space, but it's not demand-based advertising, but it's supply-based advertising. So imagine you're a plumber and you have a limited staff of people and you're servicing a big area like LA. Okay, if you have someone who needs to go from Santa Monica all the way to, down south, pretty far to Torrance, for example, that's a pretty long drive. Wouldn't it be better if your plumber could have another job in Santa Monica? So what I've seen some companies do is they give cell phones to their employees, And so the system feeds back where that employee is currently doing a job, and the system automatically goes and increases bids in those regions. So if somebody in the Santa Monica area is looking for a plumber, they're going to try to capture that demand because it's a more profitable customer, because there's less of a travel time to get to that person's house. So this is pretty advanced, but that's kind of the stuff where your agencies can really help. And this is the type of stuff you can do with AdWords scripts and automation and really start to stand out from your competition. So all of this ultimately does require that you put some effort into tracking conversions. Your agencies are going to ask you for help in this, and it is absolutely critical. If you don't give your agency exact information about conversions, they're flying blind. I mean, they can use best practices, they can try to do a good job, but honestly, they're guessing at that point. You have to use their tracking numbers, you have to help them install the conversion tracking, you have to give them access to your CRM system if you have one, so that the agency will know exactly who bought something, how much that sale was worth, and they can connect it back to the keyword and the click and make sure they do the bid management appropriately based on that. So it's possible, but you do have a role to play in it, and you do have to work with your agencies on that one. Okay, so we've heard a lot today as well about mobile phone usage being so dominant. So point number 4, make sure you have a great mobile experience. Now, luckily, this is pretty easy at some level. If you have a Google My Business listing, Google My Business listings look awesome on mobile devices. You don't have to do anything. Google takes care of that for you. But if you have a mobile website of your own, make sure you make it easy for the consumer to connect. Don't overload them with forms that are really, really long, because people don't like filling out really long forms on a mobile device. Make sure the site is easy to use, and make sure you prioritize the types of things people might look for on a mobile device. Another brilliant example I've heard, but a locksmith was prioritizing people who came in and did a search on an iPhone device for being locked out of their car. They would instantly show them, okay, well, here's how quickly we can show up to your vehicle to help you get back in, right? So now take that to a home services example where there's an emergency of some sort, right? Tie the type of phone they're using to the types of pages you want to show them, because different consumers, different types of consumers use different mobile devices. They might be searching for different things on mobile devices versus desktop devices. Google Analytics, by the way, free product from Google, they will collect all this information and present it to you. So if you don't know what all of this means for your business, Google Analytics is a free solution that can help you figure that out. So take advantage of that one. And then leverage your business data. So if you feel like you need a little bit more business certain times of the week, certain times of the month, tie that into your business data. So if you're willing to give someone a $75 off coupon, notice how one of the advertisers here is doing a $50 off coupon. Okay, maybe that's because they don't desperately need that business. But if you connect your systems of how many jobs you really should be doing on a given day to how many jobs you actually have lined up, and then based on that, you show a bigger discount when you need more business, that is a great way for you to connect your business data to Google AdWords advertising so that the ad specifically tries to draw in as many people as you possibly can. And then the final tip that I'll leave you with is make sure you drive as much impact as possible by leveraging the latest ad formats. Now, AdWords ads, they're really, really good, but they're text-driven. They used to be a little bit boring in a way, but they've gotten so much more interesting in the past couple of years. Now there's 11 types of ad extensions. An ad extension is just another piece of information that helps the consumer decide if your business is the right one to work with. And so for the same number of times that your ad is shown, it can drive a 30% boost in CTR. What that means is for the same impressions, you can get 30% more leads for very, very little effort. Now it says 11 ad extensions. Your agency probably knows about a couple of beta secret ones. So do have that conversation with them, because they usually get a little bit more access to stuff that you and I by ourselves may not have access to. Now, the other thing you can do, one of the really cool extensions is message extensions. And if your customers are millennials in any shape or form, well, millennials, for some reason, they really don't like talking to people on the phone. They want to talk to businesses on their terms, and they feel that messaging is a much better way to do that. So 75% of millennials, when surveyed, actually prefer texting over calling. So Google has played on that, and now from an ad, rather than getting that millennial to call you up, they can initiate a text conversation. And so in this case, you see someone saying, hey, my pipe broke last night when it was freezing. Do you guys have someone available to come and help me fix that? You can get that in, and then somebody on your side at the business can reply to that and schedule an appointment right there with that millennial who's in a specific need. The last thing I'll leave you with is you could start running some videos on YouTube. YouTube is huge. Between a couple of months in 2015, more than 100 million hours of how-to video content was watched. This is a great opportunity for you because consumers are actually out there looking for how to fix things. Now, you might say, that's not my target audience, someone who's going to fix it themselves. That's not who I'm selling to. But do remember, consumers are usually not as good at doing stuff as they think they might be, okay? So they look up a how-to video, they get exposed to you saying, okay, just do it like this and that, and doesn't that look easy? And then they get in over their heads. Well, guess who they're gonna call next? The person who just made it look so easy, even though I couldn't figure it out. So it is a great way for you to show your expertise, build a little bit of rapport with potential consumers, and drive some new business. You know, putting these videos on YouTube doesn't cost you any money other than the production cost, and even producing a video is not that expensive anymore. Anyone has the tools mostly in their pocket, right? Most cell phones, smartphones nowadays have an awesome video camera. So it's a great opportunity for you to take advantage of. If you want to grow your traffic on YouTube, you can also do a cost per view video ad buy. And so in that case, it's kind of like keyword advertising where you pay on a cost per click basis, but the same principle for video, where you only pay if somebody watches 30 seconds of the video that you've put on YouTube. So it's another great place to find a couple new leads and grow your business that way. Now, I've covered a lot of stuff today. Some of these things you can hopefully take action on yourselves as you leave the session today. Others are a little bit more complicated, complex, but the agencies, they've been doing this for a long time. They're experts at this. So that's where that whole relationship really comes into play. So talk to your agencies, get them to help you with keywords, bid management, automation of all sorts. This is what they're so good at. So we've covered a lot of ground here today. I hope you're excited to take some of these tactics and put them into practice later today. Now, some of these you can do yourselves. Others you're going to have to talk to your agencies about because they have the expertise. They've been doing this for a long time. They really know how to make this stuff work. So with that, I want to wish you lots of luck finding lots of new customers for your businesses, and I'll hand it back over to Teray.
Thanks, Fred, for highlighting some of the opportunities that businesses can take into account right away. I'd like to thank you and Ben for joining us to present today, as well as all of you from across North America who tuned in. We hope you learned something new during the broadcast. As a reminder, the partners in the room are experts on all of the topics we covered and ready to assist you with your online advertising needs. We thank you again for spending the past hour with us. On behalf of the partners team here in Mountain View, hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.